morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing very well, and most importantly, happy spring to those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. I believe in living the best life we can live, but periodically, I, perhaps like you, find myself drifting into routines that are subpar. I'm feeling a little more sluggish, a little less happy, and generally feeling older than I would like to feel. So when I do find myself slipping into these habits, it leads me to doing some research and identifying what are the options that I have to moderate these routines. And whenever I find areas that are easy to fix, tips that I can use to avoid my poor routines, I like to share them with you. So this video is a sharing of the remedies that I'm now employing to adjust my 5 poor routines and hopefully optimize the quality of my life as a result. So if that's of interest to you, keep watching. The first poor habit that I found myself settling into was poor sleep. Do you suffer from struggling to fall asleep or maybe to stay asleep? I have really been struggling with sleep. Now, I've read that it's very important not to expose ourselves to any blue light an hour before we sleep. So that means no phones, no iPads, no computers. And I've been complying with that. I've also read that if you read for at least 30 minutes before sleep time, the pattern of just reading lulls us to sleep. And I find that's beneficial. But the item that I've found the most helpful for me is often when I get to bed, I lie there and I toss and turn, going through the list of everything I'm going to do the next day or the next week, or perhaps just things that I'm worried about. What I've found to be extremely helpful for me is before I go to bed, I make a to-do list. I'll itemize exactly what I want to achieve the next day. Or if there's something troubling me, I'll make a list of the options that I think I have in front of me in order to overcome what's troubling me. It's not a to-do list per se, but somehow writing things down calms my mind. I've found that to be extremely useful. I then get into bed and I do my breathing exercises. Have you ever done breathing exercises to help you fall asleep? Here's what I do. I breathe in for a count of 5. I then hold my breath for a count of 5. I then breathe out for a count of 5. And I do that a number of times. And before I know it, I'm happy to say, it puts me into a lovely sleep. I find that the remedy of clearing my mind has been extremely helpful as one of the ways I can battle my poor sleep. Unfortunately, falling asleep isn't my only problem. My other problem is staying asleep. Are you finding that you are experiencing poor sleep patterns that include waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to fall back to sleep? I certainly am. So I've begun to do some research, and I'm including an article below in the description box from the Sleep Foundation, talking about what other measures might be taken to prevent waking up in the middle of the night, that awful 3:30, 4 o'clock wake up that keeps me up for the rest of the evening. I'm finding I'm making progress by adjusting the timing of my consumption of alcohol and caffeine. So when I was younger, I could enjoy a lovely coffee, a lovely espresso after dinner, no matter the hour of the dinner, and sleep beautifully through the night. But now that I'm 65, I'm realizing that if I want to have caffeine, and that even includes a beautiful chocolate dessert, I have to make sure that I consume all caffeine before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If I have a beautiful chocolate brownie, as you know, one of my most favorite things, before 2 o'clock, or if I have a beautiful espresso coffee before 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm fine and I'm not disturbed in the middle of the night. And the same goes with alcohol. I used to love a beautiful glass of Burgundy wine with my dinner. My husband is quite the connoisseur, and he would treat me with a beautiful, beautiful glass of red wine over dinner. I've learned that though that lovely glass of wine might have helped me fall asleep, it now wakes me up in the second half of the night. Not only am I disturbed by wakefulness, but I also need to get up and use the bathroom. It's that 3:30, 4 o'clock wake-up call that I receive from that beautiful red glass of Burgundy. So now, if I want to ensure that I'm going to have a beautiful night's sleep, in addition to having a limit as to how late I can have caffeine, which is my 2 o'clock afternoon limit, I also make sure that I'll have a beautiful glass of wine at lunchtime, but no longer at dinner. For me, that time frame works. I wonder if it will be at all helpful to you as well. And finally, in order to ensure a beautiful, deep sleep, it's always been recommended that the ambiance of your bedroom is critical. And perhaps you've been told before that having a cool, dark bedroom is really very helpful to allow us to fall asleep readily. I've also recently learned that some people love to include what they call white noise in the room to help them fall asleep. And you may be aware of the sleep app called Calm Sleep, and I'll link it below. This video is not sponsored by them. It's just one of the many tips that I've learned about that I want to share it with you. And I just want to include a very tiny little tale that I heard recently. If you're familiar with Michael Bublé, the singer, he's very famous for his Christmas song tracks that he does during the CD that he's been selling for years over the Christmas season. Well, I once heard him interviewed, and apparently he's a terribly chronic insomniac. And for him, what works is the Calm Sleep app. And specifically, he listens to Matthew McConaughey, the actor from Texas, who's speaking about rain. And Michael Bublé was saying how wonderfully therapeutic he finds listening to a voice that is calming and restful. And for him, that voice is Matthew McConaughey. My second routine that I'm trying very hard to improve is my skin routine. My skin routine isn't bad, but I'm forever looking to optimize it, to make it the best possible routine I can. And at 65, I think every day I spend taking care of my skin is really, really critical. The very first thing I want to talk about is the newest option that I've learned about adding to my skin routine, and that is sleeping on my back. Now, I don't know about you, but I have always been someone who prefers sleeping on her side. And as you will find in the Sleep Foundation article that I've included below, there is increasingly evidence that there are benefits to sleeping on one's back. Spinal alignment is one of the benefits. Good posture is a benefit. And of course, there's the fact that your face is pressing against the pillow, and that constant pressing, as we do so many hours a night, can lead to fine line and wrinkles. When I visited my dermatologist very recently, he was able to mention which side he thought I slept on by virtue of the nature of the vertical lines on that side of my face. That was a bit of a wake-up call for me, that clearly my decision to sleep on my side is having an impact on my face. So I have set out to try to make an adjustment. And one of the adjustments that I've begun doing is I find that if I put a pillow under my knees, it encourages me to stay on my back. Now, I'll refer you now to the Sleep Foundation article for more information about how to adjust and become a back sleeper if you're interested. One of the things the article says is that sleeping on the back is definitely not for everyone. And those people that should not be sleeping on the back are also included in the article before. The second adjustment that I've made in a big way to my skincare routine is that I have become a fan of double cleansing. Are you familiar with double cleansing? It's particularly important to double cleanse if, like me, you wear SPF every single day. I make sure I wear between a 30 and a 50 SPF, even if it's cloudy, even if I'm indoors. I religiously wear my SPF every single day. And as a result, getting that SPF off my face is a little bit more of a challenge. And I've found that the technique I used to use to wash my face every night isn't sufficient. And that's when I've adopted the double cleansing. So what I use as my first step is I am a big fan of the Clinique Take the Day Off. It's a cleansing balm that I find is just a beautiful, soothing, easy, silky way of getting off not only my SPF, but even my waterproof mascara. I find it's really an easy method. My second cleansing, I then use a hydrating gentle cleanser. And there are many out there, so perhaps you already have one that you love. Just in case you don't, I'll include the one that I use daily, and I really do enjoy it. It's one by Roche Posay. It's their hydrating gentle cleanser. Together, the Clinique Take the Day Off and my gentle cleanser, I find gives me a super clean face, which is really important before I head to bed. The other step that I've adopted on a ritualized basis is I've become a big fan of vitamin C. I use that every morning. And the second is tretinoin. I use prescription tretinoin every single night. If you're not familiar with tretinoin, I'll include an article about it below. Next, are you happy with your morning routine? Do you find that it's a routine that gets you going, that allows for you to do the things that you want to do first thing in the morning? I've been tweaking mine a little bit to try to make it the best morning routine possible, because I find for me, if my morning routine is a good one, it really sets the tone for my entire day. Firstly, I love to begin with a full glass of water. Maybe it's warm, maybe it's room temperature, maybe it's even with a slice of lemon. But I find beginning with a full glass of water is really an important first step. Next, I enjoy a consistent movement routine. And whether or not that's a good movement routine for me is how do I feel when I'm finished? So whether I'm going for a walk, or whether I'm doing a bar class, which is one of my favorites, or maybe you love yoga, the question is, how do you feel after you've done it? If you feel better than you did when you started, that is the test that that movement routine is a really positive addition to your morning routine. And finally, I have recently learned a little bit about adding a cold burst at the end of my shower. Have you read anything about this? I've been reading and learning that the research shows that if you're able to add a cold burst at the end of your shower, or even if you're able to endure a fully cold shower, I haven't been able to step there yet, it has an impact on our mood, on our energy level, on our metabolism, and certainly on our circulation and our stress response. So that's good enough for me. My next routine that I'm always looking to improve is my communication skills. Are your communication skills diminishing with age? Is it harder for you to find the energy to spend time with friends? Do you wish you were better at connecting with people? Is it awkward and difficult? Does it take a lot of energy? Do you ask many questions when you're sitting chatting with a friend? How often do you laugh? Are you a good listener? I recently came upon a book that made a difference to me. It's Charles Duhigg's new book, and it's called The Supercommunicators. Have you ever met anyone that made you feel as though you were the most important person they'd ever met? That person, according to Charles Duhigg, was a super communicator. And the book really sets out to unlock the secrets of the language of communication. I enjoyed it. So take a look if you're interested. I'll link it in the description box below. And my fifth and final routine that I am always looking to improve is how to be kind to myself. Do you work on being kind to you? What I mean by that is improving your positivity. Let your very first thought in the day be a positive thought. The first moment you wake up, may that thought be positive. May you always surround yourself with kind people. I find that if I surround myself with kind people, it brings out more and more kindness from me. I believe that whatever you give, you will receive. And that belief keeps me at my best. Even on my grumpiest days, I try to be as kind as I possibly can. I also try to smile, laugh, and celebrate. I am a big believer in celebrating. Some would say we celebrate every stupid little thing, and maybe we do. But I think no holiday, no birthday, no success is too small or too insignificant not to be worthy of celebrating. And the more we celebrate, the more happy we feel, and the more kindness we have to share with friends and family. So I think it's a really important habit to have, and that habit is always be kind to you. That's it for me. I hope that you found some of the habits that I'm working on speak to you as well. And if you did find any of these habits useful, I hope you'll leave us a comment below. I'm always interested in understanding what you find to be the most useful, the most helpful. That gives me guidance for future videos. In the meanwhile, get up, get dressed, be happy, make sure that you're kind to yourself. I can't wait to see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Happy spring.